I don't know what's going on here, if it's live or not. Here we go. Now I think we're live. I have to get used to and play around with this new live producer Facebook just switched to for Facebook Lives. Um, I'm not a tech person at all, and so this all confuses me. So, sorry. And hello, Deanne and Rodo and Michelle. I am Jax West. I run Stephen Avery Project, Justice with Jax, MAM Gossip, and miscellaneous other things. Last week we did a live discussion because there are so many new people that are watching Making a Murderer, so they would like to discuss the case. So here we are. So you can feel free to fire away any questions or anything you want to discuss about the Stephen Avery, Brendan Dassey case. And we can dive right in. We'll be on for an hour. So something we're always asked is, what's going on with Stephen's case? Nothing. There's nothing going on, at least that we know of. You know, obviously we don't know what Kathleen has up her sleeve, but when is his date? May something, right? He's got a date coming up around the corner. But don't know if it'll get pushed back because due to the stay at home, a lot of stuff has been pushed back. So we don't know if we'll hear anything on Stephen's case. So there's really nothing new to discuss. We just have the case itself. And as I'm scrolling, we've got a lot of people saying hello. Tanya says, how is Stephen doing with the coronavirus going around so bad in prisons? Haven't heard anything. I mean, I know there's some cases in Waupun, but I haven't heard if Stephen is in any dire situation, you know. But you never know. This virus can hit anybody. I know people typically say it's the elderly that are in jeopardy, but people of all ages have died. So everybody's at risk. You say, is it hard to hear me? And hello. Tim says, when is the last time you talked to Stephen? What is the latest? Has Kathleen Zellner given up? Last time I talked to Stephen was Father's Day last year. So I haven't talked to Stephen in almost a year now. I just went over what's the latest. There is no latest. Has Kathleen Zellner given up? Absolutely not. She's not a quitter. So she will be with the case till the end. And she has said it typically takes her 15 years. It's a long time to overturn a wrongful conviction, unfortunately. So, but that's something we can discuss as well is Kathleen did tweet over the weekend. And people read, I think, too much into stuff. And so there are people who think that her tweet means she was like giving up on the case or that she now thought he was guilty. I mean, everything under the sun came out of there. Here's what I believe, but this is just my theory, okay? So this doesn't mean fact. But you've got the Innocent Files has been on Netflix, right? It was a big hit from the Innocence Project. And that series has a lot to do with science, you know, so all these experts who are then shitty, like the alleged experts in Stephen's case, like here Sherry Culhane, who contaminated everything. And then over the weekend, I know many of the lawyers like Jerry and then Brent's lawyers, Laura Nyrider and Stephen Drizzen, and the Staircases lawyer who in Staircases, so I don't care about that. Uh, um, I think they were online or doing a podcast or something over the weekend. So there's a lot of talk about bad experts. So my belief is Kathleen's tweet is just saying that she had good experts, that she has working on Stephen's case. That's all I think it was. I don't think there's anything, oh my God, she's against Stephen now or whatever. Um, yes, I'm doing well, and hello from all over the world. Oh my God, Argentina. It's so funny. It goes from, okay, so we got Kansas to the UK to Argentina to Philadelphia to Ireland. Cindy, hi Cindy, one of the regulars. He asks, how is he still being held? Because that's the way in the States here, our judicial system is. It is so he's still in prison because his conviction is not overturned. In the eyes of the law, Stephen is guilty. So that he's still being held. Jamie says, is the mate who started this page still around? No, Jamie, that would be Curtis. He started this page, and he was here for the first year and about a year. Started it in December, and then I took the page over the following year in November, I believe. So Curtis hasn't been around in years. He was married and had a young daughter at the time, and then his wife was pregnant with another child, and he just put his he couldn't put any more time into this, and now he's working and taking care of his family. Curtis is not around. Melanie says, what happened on Cuss Road? Well, depends who you talk to. I've gone to Cuss Road several times, and actually I'm going to be going there soon. We're going to be doing some filming at Cuss Road. So Kathleen Zellner has a video that she made where she claimed that Bobby Dassey could have left his trailer, followed Teresa Halbach, got her to turn onto Cuss Road, told her that he wanted a hustle, which the hustle shot is anybody who did go through ought to sell their car, because I believe Teresa would make $10 a picture for somebody who set it up through Auto Trader, but you $20 if it was something that she got herself. So the theory is that Bobby got her to pull over on the dead end road, which is right near the salvage yard, because it's just a whole lot of open. So as a crow flies right there, and then Bobby, I don't know, what do you want to say? We don't know for sure what Bobby would have allegedly done to Teresa. In Zellner's video, she also has it that the road to the deer camp there, that Teresa was buried there temporarily, and that Scott Toddick helped Bobby in doing that. So that's a theory. Hello, Holly. Yeah, we were live here on the Stephen Avery Project last week, and we go live a lot in the MAM Gossip closed group, and then I do live days and Fridays on WMP Justice Review Facebook pertaining to the Marty Yang case. So I'm also wasn't on Stephen Avery Project because it was like, well, nothing's happening in Stephen's case. Like I said, new people watch it every day, so that's why we're live. Sorry if anybody, because it starts to scroll up. I can't go back. So the first question I have on here is, do you know if when they're releasing the third season? As far as I know, nothing has even been filmed. I'm sure if Steven was to get a new trial, get released, or something like that, that absolutely they would film it and there would be another season. But as of right now, there's nothing there. There's nothing to show unless the documentarians were going to, because I'm sure they've got so much more footage that they've never shown. So unless they wanted to put time into doing that, there's nothing in the works right now, as far as I know. Adam doing the scream from that 70s show. Hello, Wisconsin. Hello, Jen. Nicole says, no, we can hear. Oh, thank you. One of the Stephen Avery Project moderators says, the only thing I've heard is that Stephen has been moved from a pod to a single cell. And that's something that lots of prisons are starting to do, is they're moving people to the single cell because they are all at risk. It's something that I have been fighting for, and actually I have a live tomorrow night that I'm going to be doing with family members and loved ones of rated people to talk about what is happening in the prisons and the jail, and how, you know, these people were not sentenced to death, and keeping them in a place that you could possibly have 20 something people in one room and you can't let them socially distance. We have to do better for these people. You know, I know there are a lot of people that go, they're in prison for a reason. Well, Stevenson, how many other people are in prisons that are innocent? So we shouldn't be throwing these people away like garbage. Two of the cases that I advocate for, Melissa Kaluzinski and Marnie Yang, they're both in Logan Correctional here in Illinois. And I know that they're providing them with masks. So they're one mask a week. They use one mask the whole week. And they're trying to spread them out some more. So, so that's good. If Steven's in a single cell, I mean, it's good and it's bad, because it's nice to be with a roommate so you have somebody to talk to, but you don't want that person to cost you your life. So, Lucas says, I wanted to say you're a dedicated person and I admire your tenacity with this case. Thanks for keeping us up to date with the case. Well, thank you so much, Lucas. Yeah, I'm here for whatever questions you guys have. I might not necessarily know the answers to them. I am not the expert and I am not a legal expert, but you can fire away with any questions or anything you want to discuss, and I asked. Joanne says, hello from Scotland. It's heartbreaking how Stephen has been wrongly accused. He'll never get those years back. It's horrible. Because you look at the first 18 that were taken from him for the Penny Bernstein case. And he was a husband and a father. He had newborn twin sons. And he lost all of that. Lost his wife, lost his kids. And then he was only out for 2 short years, right? Only 2 years, I believe. And now he's there again. He's got grandchildren now. And his parents get older and older and older. There's nothing you can do to get that back. All those years he has lost. I just really hope that he will be free before his parents pass away, and that they can ride off into the sunset. You know, go live somewhere out of Wisconsin where he can fish with his dad and garden sit with his mom, you know, and just live his life however he wants. Jamie asks, is there going to be another sin? We discussed that already. That I'm sure there would be if something happened with the case, but as of right now, there is nothing on the agenda. Sean says the only reason even is locked up is Carol fucking Baskin. Oh my god, the Tiger King memes give me life. There is a whole Facebook group of Tiger King memes, and they are hysterical. Um, oh my gosh, and I say Carol fucking Baskin all the time. It is, yeah. Um, Bill says crazy amount of time. What dollar amount do you put on that? You know, I mean, there's no amount of money that can give back everything he's lost. But I hope he like owns Wisconsin at the end of this. He should. Um, Adam says Governor Evers. Whoops, where did it go? Where did it go? I don't know where it went to. And now it says I have Michelle saying I think that Steve and I'm gonna assume Brendan should be released, and we should throw Carol Baskin in prison. More of a murderer than Steven. Yeah. Uh, oh my god, that's funny. So wait, you don't even to him? No, I currently talk to Steven and I haven't in a year. Um, Lisa says, I can't believe that Steven is still in prison. The evidence that has been put forward clearly shows he's innocent. But it's getting the court to allow that evidence in. Melissa says, I've seen several shows that innocent people have been free quicker than 15 years. Why is this case so overly complicated? Because of the corruption and then the people that cover up for those corrupt people. Rachel says, has he reached Kardashian? She's done amazing things for others. I know that people have talked about that before, of doing stuff on Twitter. I don't go on Twitter, so I'm sure somebody has reached out to her. Whether or not she's doing anything, that I don't know. Do you talk to Steven? I've already addressed that. Phil says, I thought we would hear from someone who even talked to the guy. I'm out. Well, see ya. You don't talk to him either. Jen says, is anyone else lagging? Yeah, I've noticed every time I do Facebook Live now, since they switched to this whole new format, I've got really crappy service. So I don't know if it's this new program. I don't know if it's because I'm in the middle of a storm. I don't know. So I apologize for the horrible reception. People respond to each other. Angie says, sadly, the system is corrupt, so all the evidence Kathleen has that proves Steve's innocence will always be swept under the carpet. My heart breaks from I see the sadness in his soul. Well, and that's an issue I always have when somebody will say, well, he was found guilty by a jury. Juries don't see everything. So much stuff is blocked. So they aren't the most educated on the case. So I don't care if a jury finds anybody guilty or innocent for that matter, when so much is prevented from being admitted to the court. Mailing address. So we have a pinned post at Stephen Avery Project at the top. Let me see if I can even get it on my other screen over here. But we have it pinned in the announcements, I think it's called. So even right now when I'm pulling up Stephen Avery Project on my other page, so at the top picture And then right to the right there, it says there's a picture that's up there all the time above where it says my story that says to send mail without money to Stephen goes to Story. His OC number is 122987 at Waupun Correctional Institution, P.O. Box 351, Waupun, Wisconsin 53963-0351. So it's there on the page. And get it whenever you would like. As came into this list regarding nothing in particular. This is just a discussion, overall discussion, and it's to discuss case. We it's Wednesday, and there were a lot of people, a lot of questions that I wasn't able to get to. So I said I would go live again this week. So people I wasn't able to get to, maybe I could get to your questions today. Because the more people that ask questions, it's to push everything up, and then it doesn't let me scroll back and get them. So I missed lunch last week. Luciano, no, there isn't any new. Jamie says, does anyone discredit what she has to say and even speak with Stephen? I feel information from someone he's in contact with. Oh my God, stupid. But whatever. Bye. Bye. Jen said me to explain to people why you haven't talked to Jen. That actually appropriate, Jen, for Stephen Avery project. That is something we discussed in the closed group, because anytime I try to talk on Stephen Avery project about that kind of stuff, people don't care. They just want to know over and over again where we get is when is Making a Murderer 3 coming out, how's parents, all pretty much the people want to know. And gossip is the people that really go into every piece of the case. And so we discuss those kinds of things in there. Hello. Have a look at my settings. It's not my audio settings. Okay, I'm live every day. It's fake. Vince says we're eternal for all these series of injustices, but do you have any cops that aren't corrupt? Yeah, we do. There's good in everything, you know. So, in Stephen's case, man, that seems to have a ton of corruption. There's plenty of good cops. I work with some good cops with MP Justice Review, so there's plenty of good cops. Adam says, heard nothing on Avery regarding a hearing, especially now since Evers has Wisconsin locked up until end of May. Definitely nothing happening anytime soon. No news locally out of Madison lately. Please correct me if. Yeah, there's nothing. Bobby says, is this stream only for think they are innocent? Well, Slavery Project supports Stephen's innocence. We are not going to argue or get into it with guilters. There are plenty of other pages out there that think Stephen is guilty. So if that's a discussion that people want to have, they need to find those other pages. I 100% convinced of Anne Brendan's innocence. And I'm a choose your battles person. and I got enough to do and not taking up any of my trying. It's not my job to convince somebody who thinks he's guilty to switch. Just like somebody who thinks he's guilty isn't going to be able to make me switch. So, um, people who think he's are welcome to watch, but I'm not going to argue with you. Dustin says it's so the way the system had done him. Yeah, well, because they had 36 million reasons to try and get him this time. Layla says one day truth will come out from Scotland. Let's hope so, knock on wood. When people reply to each other, I don't read those, I just skip over. There'll be a little pause sometimes asking because I don't even read them. I scroll a little talking to each other. From England, I've always said it's the biggest fit up I ever seen. If I can see, and I'm a man, I'm sure should be able to see it. Your justice system in that has a lot to answer for. Absolutely. It's, it's a total injustice, and people with a brain can see he is innocent. Hello, Chile. All jobs who gone. I'm surprised no one's gone after the cops who have it in for Stephen. Hello, Dylan in Indiana. And Deborah. Anne says it's tragic he continues to have any more time than necessary in jail. Recently watched the Innocence Files on Netflix and is eye-opening how many people are wrongfully accused and incarcerated. Unbelievable, the corruption has not been exposed, but then again, it's our government. Well, and something that people will bring up, and I will say as well here, Stephen was going to do time regardless because of when he chased his cousin off the road and put a gun at her. He was selling from that, and that he is then now own a gun. And he was renting that trailer from Rolly Johnson. And so most everything in that trailer belonged to Rolly, including that Glenfield rifle, that Marlin rifle or whatever it was called, that was hanging over Stephen's bed. And so that's what they originally took Stephen into custody for, and they charged him with being and having a gun. So he wouldn't have gotten this, obviously, that he got for allegedly killing Teresa Halbach, but he would have been doing time regardless. Leanne says, what happened to the last part of the documentary that air? Well, Maker has aired 2 parts. Both were 10 episodes each, correct? So everything that had been filmed for Making a Murderer so far is out, or that they edited, what they wanted to show you. The edited. There's tons and tons of cutting floor stuff that I'm sure they could make those, but everything is out that documentarians meant to be out at this time. So they'll possibly be, they'll if something new happens with Stephen's case, I'm going to film again. You'll think Stephen is innocent. Dustin says, just want to make everyone scared, regardless of whether a person is innocent or not, as well as the lawyer and officers, all in their own way. Yep. Absolutely. It's not just the Manitowoc Sheriff's Department that was corrupt. Way more. No, Leanne, Netflix didn't reject anything. It has aired all of Making a Murderer that the documentarian has edited. Good evening to the north coast of Germany. Um, Heather says, set him free. Deborah says, I haven't been able to catch a live in so long. Glad you caught us this time. Nicole put a link to some place. Those are, no, I'm not clicking on that link, Nicole, that you posted. Those are typically where it's when will season 3, and they'll just say they don't know. Once you click on it and read that article, it'll say they don't know season 3 on when it would air. So it's not time anything about a season 3. Heather says, Brendan brother, is that who you're saying you think are the killers? Jen says, thank you do. It's so wonderful that you're still healing for him. I'm here in, whoops, something just blocked what I was reading of yours. I'm here in Georgia behind them all the way. Well, thank you so much, Jen, for your support for the guys. Leanne says, Nicole, I asked, I don't know what question to. And hello, Tana. Laura says, FYI, rules for sending a letter to an inmate link is not found. Says, on the bright side, they are now doing a Zoom. It's a crazy mess, but the courts are at a snail's pace. Yeah, they're doing what they gotta do. Bobby says, thanks. I didn't even know I was in this page, LOL. The note came up, so I come to join. I believe at least one of them are guilty, but reflect other people's opinions. Brett says, state of Georgia here. I have this case. He's not guilty. Lord, I'm a Wisconsinite, and there was a way to get our innocent boys, men, out. For Brendan, I know that his attorneys have asked people to contact the Wisconsin governor, Evers, and ask him to grant Brendan's clemency petition. I know that's what, like, we're doing here in Illinois with several, is asking for clemency to get them out during this virus that's putting their lives at risk. So you're looking at people that have done like over 75% of their time. They're not violent, those kinds of things. And then, of course, you have the innocent people, but it'd be a harder time to get out people that you say are innocent if you don't bring them to a new trial and prove that. But I know many governors are letting inmates out to make the room during this, but they have said they have filed a clemency petition. So we're advising, talking to many different inmates that the WMP Just Review team has, and will help for emergency clemency. Luann says the brother-in-law looks to me. Scott Toddock is guilty of something. Exactly, not sure the extent of it. No, Shelley, we're just here because since we're in this at-home world, we have new people are making a murder for the first time every day. So while there's many of us who have been around since Making a Murderer aired, so we know all this stuff, there are new people that have the same questions we had those years ago. So that's why I've come on, is if there are new people who have some questions or anything they wanted to talk about. So it's so obvious, the lead Brendan, how he's still in prison. Sorry, typo. I'm trying to. But it's obvious Brendan was forced into a false confession, and he is innocent. Josie, her out soon. They're innocent. Haley says, UK here. I think he's innocent. Both of them are. He's been dealt a bad hand of cards, and it is so unfair. Anything like it. Oh, there's so many stories. I mean, making a murder was or is a big deal and got a huge audience. But there are so many other cases that this happens. So many forced confessions, so much corruption. It's really sad. Sorry, watching my trying to catch a bird. Um, Brett says America doesn't have a justice system. It's never innocent until proven guilty. The Hallbacks are armed somehow along with Colborne. Well, I'll agree with your first thing. Yeah, it's supposed to be innocent until proven guilty, but it's really innocent unless or in it yeah. Um cuz if you're innocent until proven guilty, then why do you have to be in prison or in jail until you go to court? You're innocent. You haven't been proven guilty yet. So why do you have to go to jail? There's kind of the, doesn't fit. Rob says, here, we're not perfect. That shit would have never held water here. Send him our best. Everyone here has seen through the setup. Yeah, I hear from people in other countries all the time, like what happened to Brendan would never happen, that it wouldn't be in a room with no adult in there on his behalf. Just wrong. Tom says Bobby is 100% the computer stuff and being home then, not when she leaves. Yeah, that computer stuff to me, that's huge, but it hasn't been admitted to court. It's blacked. Yvonne says, just tuned in. Are we getting close to them? Well, one could only hope, but there's nothing new, Yvonne. We're just here for, new people or old people who want to discuss the case. Is dad okay? His mom has been a rock. The answer every time asked how his parents are, every day they get older, and their health declines. So, it's really sad. Brett says the trial should have taken place out of state. I agree. At least a better chance. Also, FBI because and the whole thing about it. Yeah, I don't get how the Manitowoc Sheriff's Department was able to have any part in whatsoever. Oh, we needed extra. No, you didn't. You didn't need Manitowoc. Well, apparently you did, because only Manitowoc was able to find the magic key and the magic bullet. Coincidence? Gail says, Kathleen Zellner tweeting that made you think there may be something brewing. Do anything? Gail, no, I don't know anything. I said earlier in this video, I think it is just because of the Innocence Files, which talks a lot about junk science, bad science, these corrupt alleged experts who, due to their reports, put innocent people in. And so my theory is that Kathleen's post was to say the experts that she has in Stephen's case are all good ones, not all bad. Sasha, nothing new going on. Cheryl says with here, Stephen and Brendan are innocent even before I saw the documentary. The judge here is horrible. In lacrosse, and it's absolutely this. Please give them both my. I feel like I should write. I am in full support of them both. I still think Bobby and the step-ins that should be in prison, free them both. Cheryl, I absolutely go ahead and write to both of them. We have the addresses for both Stephen and Brendan posted in Stephen Avery Project before. I always tell people absolutely write to both of them, but just don't expect a letter back. There's a lot of people who will write and then they get upset, don't hear from them. So Stephen doesn't like writing to people, and he's been burned in the past, so he'll be even more particular in who he writes back. And I don't know in this coronavirus time on how their mail system is working, how long it's going to take a letter for sure to get to them. So do it because you just want to provide them some entertainment, something for them to side of their, so just tell them who you are and where you're from and, things like that. Don't get way into, delve into the case because, you don't want them to have to think about negative stuff. You want to try and boost their spirits and make them positive. Christina says, what do you think post from today from the guy who claimed to have insider info? Well, that's Christina. I didn't see the post. So where was the post made? Who made it? Josh said it's gossip. Assume that meant gossip. You'd have to look. If you're looking for gossip, we have a closed group for that called MaM Gossip. That's where the latest gossip is. Deborah says if they are not, they will be in heaven, and we will. Deborah says guilty until proven innocent is country. Thank you, Lynn, for posting the rules. And hello, Canada. Vince says, is Kathleen Zellner's team on the case full time still? That I don't know. I don't have any inside information on her legal team, but Kathleen is one of the best, or if not the best, that you want wrongful conviction. So whatever needs done, I'm sure she and her team are doing. No, Latasha, he is not out. Curtis says, wow, I watched all the documentary. I feel for them. Those cops got tunnel vision. Well, because $36 million. That's why they have tunnel vision. And Cheryl says they need to set him free. Mm-hmm. So I made it to the bottom. Yay. It's just so sad. I always just feel so bad for Stephen and his mother, and for that this has happened to them. And Stephen twice has had his life taken from him. Twice. Bonnie says they both need to be free. The county was looking to get even, and that is so wrong. There's just so much that shows the corruption there. Ivana says, when is the court case? When do they go back? Well, they have a date for beginning of May. Everything keeps getting pushed back, so you don't know for sure Um, like a case that I'm on, the Martin case. We've got a date of, what is it? May 21. That we're supposed to go to court for her, but we've been told there's 99% chance that'll get pushed. So, don't know. It says he was a bad guy for a wrong crime. That's something we discuss a lot in MAM Gossip in the lives we air. A lot of stuff that comes out that shows Stephen might not be the nicest guy, which, you know, for. It doesn't matter what Stephen is like as a person. If someone sees an asshole or whatever, he's not guilty of this crime. So, it doesn't matter if Sandra Morris, his cousin, um, and then she tells her shind and two friends, and he tells friends, and then they go after Stephen. That's not the way things are supposed to work. Angela says the whole police department and justice system needs an overhaul. I agree. Vince says, does Scott and Bobby get greedy locals over this case? Not really. No. Judy says, is it a fact that someone that confessed, or is that gossip? Nobody's confessed. Other than Brendan's forced confession. But no, nobody's confessed. Yeah, Lean, I know that sometimes the reception chop, and I apologize. All right, so down at the bottom again. So circle back around to the things. Here's Christina. So it was a post on Gossip. The post said Lancelot Whitehead. Oh. All right, Christina, I'll check that out in Gossip when in here. You can't hear me either? Yeah. Viku says, Steve, stay strong, man. Every time I had talked to Steven or visited, always positive. I couldn't believe with everything that he goes through that he was able to stay so positive, but he does. So again, there's no season 3. There's no date for season 3. I'm sure a season will be made if something new happens with the case. There's nothing new currently. Everything's in limbo. You don't know with this virus. Steven's parents get older every day. Need Steven out sooner than later. And they're both innocent. And I guess I'll leave you all with posting. I've got a Zoom that I'm doing with families of people who are in prison to talk about their cases and what's happening to them in prison with the virus. And so I'll post that here after it's done, so you can check that out if you want. If you are interested in gossip that surrounds this case or other cases, you can join our Club MaM Gossip, where we talk all these other cases and different documentaries, even Tiger King. I advocate for 3 other cases. I talk about them there. And then also there is a Facebook page called WMP Justice Review. That's where we cover the cases that I advocate for. Marnie Yang case. So we go live Mondays and Fridays at 6 p.m., the same time that this one started tonight. So if you are interested in the Marnie Yang case, you check those out. Other than that, if anything new ever happens in Stephen's case, we post it here on Stephen's Avery Project immediately. So, never fear, you will find it here. Something is finalized on a third season, we will put it. If it goes to court, we will it. If there's a filing, we will post it. So, we get it to you as soon as it happens. So, but until then, it's just, there's nothing to report. Just keep Stephen and Brendan in your thoughts, and feel free to send them letters to try and entertain them. That's all we can do, right? Believe in their innocence. Know that Stephen and Brendan aren't the only ones justice happens to. And poor people lose. They lose all the time. So thank you so much for joining tonight. I don't know if next week we go live all the time in MaM Gossip. So if you're interested in lives where we really dig into things, join us in MaM Gossip. Talk to you soon, everybody. Stay safe.